Hi everyone, it's Roz here from Brumby Horse Life, and it's a really cold and foggy morning. I've just fed the horses hay, and today's topic is going to be about flighty and reactive horses and how to deal with them using your touch. I'm doing this series because I worked with my horses for a number of years, being nearly completely blind because I had cataracts in my eyes and all I could see was blur. I didn't have any contrast, I couldn't see the ground, but I had two very big horses that I had to deal with on a daily basis. And in Bella's case, she was particularly reactive and flighty, and I really had to learn how to manage her without getting myself hurt. So I'm going to tell you about some of the things that I did with Bella to try and get her to respond towards some of the requests I made of her in a better manner, and using calm authority. So Bella was extremely flighty back in the day. She still is a little bit flighty. She gets anxiety at times over things that she doesn't understand, and her first reaction is to take off, or if she's under pressure, particularly when she's in season, because she is a moodier mare, she can really put on the histrionics and do a lot of high theatre. So when I first got Bella, she was relatively unhandled. She had just turned 5 years of age. She'd spent most of her time in a herd with her mares and her mother. So she really didn't respect people in the way that she probably should have. I don't know whether she just didn't get enough handling when she was younger, but she was definitely very flighty and very reactive, and maybe that's why they sold her. I don't know. I mean, I can only ever speculate because I never actually asked them why they were selling Bella. Anyway, she's a big girl, and she's a gorgeous girl with lots of personality, and these days she's a real smoocher, and she has been for quite a while. However, it didn't start out that way. In the earlier days, she was very domineering and naughty with it. She certainly tried to double barrel me, tried to double barrel things that I was working with, tried to chase me, tried to double barrel Cal, bit him on a number of occasions. So she was generally unsafe to be around. Now, none of her behaviours were because she had character faults. I want to point that out right at the start. She simply was unhandled and hadn't had enough human contact to understand that she needed to be aware of my space and to respect my space. So I had to teach her, but I didn't want to do it in a harsh way. Plus, I couldn't see, and I've never been that kind of a handler or owner. With me, it's always about partnership. And so the first thing I think I did was build a relationship with Bella. During that relationship building period of time, I had to set some ground rules with Bella, and that was about my space and not to dominate me, because she naturally wanted to be at the top of the ladder, and I needed her to respect me and not to push or shove me around. So the first probably couple of months, she challenged me left, right, and centre. If I was out in the paddock, she would chase me around. If she didn't like what I was doing, she would try and double barrel. She tried to double barrel my lawnmower, my tools. She would steal my tools and run off. She was always having histrionics of some type or another. Now, every time we had a confrontation, I purposely decided not to escalate with her, because I realised that's what she was wanting. She wanted me to escalate back and to meet her challenge, and so I chose to do the opposite. So most of us are aware that if the horse moves your feet, the horse is the winner and the owner is the loser. So that meant that I had to stand my ground when Bella was trying to be the winner and wanted me to be the loser. So we had a number of set twos out in the paddock particularly, in very vulnerable sort of territory. And the way I dealt with that was when she was coming in for a charge towards me, I owned the space on the ground. So I was telling her, okay, you can charge all you like and you can, perform as much as you like, but you're not going to take that space off the ground from me. And how I did that was made myself larger, like jumping up and down, doing windmills with my arms, using my lunge rope as a flag, but also as an extension of my arms. And every time she came in towards my space on the ground, I sent her off. So we do this on, 2 or 3 times a week, until she realised that the only time she was allowed to come into my space is when she used calm energy. So when Bella was nipping and biting people, I spent some time watching why and when she was doing it. And what I realised with her is that when she was asking, she was being ignored. And usually, now she never, to her credit, she never nipped or bit me, but she did nip and bite Kelly numerous times. She nipped my sister. And it was actually one of the times when she nipped my sister that I was watching her, and I could see that she was cross because my sister was fiddling with a phone and randomly patting Bella on the face and not paying attention to Bella asking her for a treat. So Bella was nudging her and wanted her full attention, and my sister was preoccupied with a phone. So Bella leant forward over the fence and nipped her on the stomach. Fortunately, it wasn't hard, but it was enough to make my sister jump back in surprise and, and look at me. And I said, well, I was just watching that. And it appears to me that she's mad with you because you're paying attention to your phone and not to her. And she's been asking you for a treat. And so we decided to explore that, discussion that I was having with my sister. And my sister put the phone down and stood there and patted Bella again. And Bella nudged her, and my sister acknowledged that nudging, went and got her a little bit of chaff, I think it was, or a few oats, I can't remember, and brought it back to her. And Bella's whole demeanour changed and she settled right down, as long as my sister was fully engaged with what Bella was trying to say to her, which was pat me, love me, don't look at the phone, and can I have a treat, please? So my sister got inadvertently bitten because she wasn't paying attention. And it's a good lesson for us all because if you're not fully engaged and present in the moment and being mindful of what's going on around you, you do not know what your horse is thinking or doing. So that opens us up to risks and nips, bites, kicks. So you really need to stay engaged and focused when you're dealing with your horses and paying attention to their reactions. Because if you don't, you're going to come off second best no matter how tough you think you are. When a horse bites you or kicks you or squashes you or stamples on you, it causes pain and physical injuries. When I started working with Bella in the round pen, she was highly theatrical and, and really felt that she needed to control the situation. And whenever I took control of the situation, the theatrics would come out. So there was a bit of a battle for dominance, and also her anxiety was mixed in because if she didn't understand what it was that I wanted her to do, she put on a performance. Now, you might be saying, oh, it's because she's a mare. No, it's because she was anxious and I wasn't obviously being clear enough with what I was asking her to do. So what I had done after I'd finished training Billy was to use my lunge rope or lunge whip, I should say, and as a flag, and I put it behind her feet, and I asked her to move forward. And now it wasn't the first time she's had that done to her, but for whatever reason, she objected, and that was it. She started to snort and squeal. She bucked, she reared, she galloped around, screamed to Billy, and just generally performed. And look, I whether she was in season or not, it was no excuse for that kind of behaviour. So I had two choices. One was either to run her until she slowed up and tired out, or to de escalate the situation. So I chose to de escalate the situation by walking to the middle of the arena, and I sat on my drum while she ran round and carried on. If she came close to my space, I used my lunge whip to drive her out, but never got off my drum. And so she continued on like this for maybe a minute. It wasn't that long, and began to realise that. So by de-escalating, I took the wind out of her sails, and she came to the decision for herself that her reactions were out of order and it was too much. And so once she calmed down and stopped the snorting and that nobody was paying any attention, Bill was watching a little bit from the outside, but he wasn't particularly upset by her theatrics. I was sitting in the middle, paying very little attention to her theatrics. And so there was calm energy. She calmed down, walked up to me in the centre, put her head down, and wanted to make up. So I had a choice at that point to make, and so I decided that I wasn't going to completely let her off the hook. So I let her back out to the outside of the ring, and I gently put the lunge whip again at the back of her feet, asked her very nicely to move on. And this time she responded nicely and just walked around. And once she did a few laps, I didn't do very much, it was probably only half a minute, if that. I left her be, walked into the centre, sat down. She came back in, and we cuddled, and I gave her a treat, and the day was over. Anyway, the next day when I went back out to do some training on Bill, she was back out there too, and she was quite happy to do whatever I asked. So, de-escalate. When you've got a flighty animal, it's always better to de-escalate than to escalate. A horse that wants to fight you when they're escalating will fight you. A horse that wants to run when they're escalating or snort or carry on or buck or rear will continue to do so as long as you've got high energy and you're projecting that. If you're in a safe space away from their ability to harm you, chill out. Just go and sit there, because once they start to realize that you're not reacting, and that you find it rather boring. And that's one of my little tricks that I use on a regular basis. If the horses are performing in a way that I don't like, um, I will go and sit there and wait it out until they've calmed down, and they quickly figure that out. So there are tricks and means to dealing, and even with spooking, I will say if a horse is going to spook over something, if you go and sit on the object, and if your horse likes treats, you can use a draw-in process of sit on the object, have that goodie, dangle it, or show them where it is, and then just ignore them. Look somewhere else, read, do something that's particularly boring, and before you know it, the snorty, fire-breathing horse will soon be over to discover that treat. So there's lots of little ways that you can deal safely with your horse without having to escalate. And, that's probably one of the key takeaways that I've learned with Bella, is that if I want her to work for me, is to keep my energy low and calm, not to meet her energy when she is being reactive, but to do the opposite and to stay out of her space if she's feeling reactive. And I know there'll be people say, oh, you've got to dominate the horse, you've got to get on top of it. No, you don't. Just give it a few minutes. Let that horse calm down and get back to, some sort of normalcy, and then try again. It doesn't matter if it takes you 20 times to master whatever it is that you're trying to teach your horse. Just do it slowly, calmly, gently, with, the correct energy, because that really does make a big difference. My beautiful girl.